Well, a very special good afternoon and welcome once again, friends, to West Indian Today. And I'm yours truly, your host and host, Imran Ahmad. Thank you once again for allowing us to come into your homes and also into your television sets, as local politics is actually the key, or I would say the topic of interest for today's program. As many of you know, and we started off our political discussions for 2018 about a month ago. We are, however, continuing with all the discussions. And remember, friends, that whenever it comes to topics of this sort, of this nature, always feel free, friends, to opine with your thoughts, your suggestions, your comments, and feedback as well. And whatever questions you would like to personally pose to the candidate, because we do hope that that the candidates that we are in discussion with, this will be actually the first of several discussions until the day of election. Joining with me today is an individual who is looking to represent you, as he has been, his whole idea, his whole political agenda has been about representing people who have not been represented at all, from local government as well as federal government. He's been trying to do so for a number of years, and I do hope that with your support, which it is a sure thing, actually, or I think it's guaranteed, that if given this position, he will definitely represent the people and also work for the people of the district. And he is actually running for district leader. Dear friend of mine, and he joins with me on deck. He is the Democratic candidate for district leader of District 31, Mr. Richard David. I want to say welcome to you.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you, Imran. And that was a really nice introduction.
Mr. David, first of all, like I said, it's great to have you on deck. Now, first of all, district leader, give our viewers, the full or an elaborate understanding of what a district leader really does.
I'm excited to. So this is for New York State Assembly District 31.
Okay.
And the neighborhoods include Richmond Hill, just a part of Richmond Hill, all of South Ozone Park, and then it goes into parts of the Rockaways.
Okay.
Laurelton, Springfield Gardens. But I'm running for a part of the district for just Richmond Hill and South Ozone Park.
Okay.
They call that Part B.
Mm-hmm.
The job of a district leader. So bear with me for a minute. When you think about who gets nominated to be your elected official before they run, when you think about who our judges are, when you think about where is the local Democratic Party in my neighborhood, you should be thinking of the district leaders.
Right.
Because they're the ones that nominate candidates to run with the party's support. They're the ones who determine which judges get elected, and they determine, and they get to create these local Democratic clubs. In our neighborhood, there actually isn't a Democratic club that's visible, active, and I haven't met a lot of people who, to be perfectly honest with you, are fully aware of the different levels of government, how they work, what they can do for you, and specifically within the Democratic Party. So I have this opportunity now to get people involved, activists like myself,
right,
residents like you and others, who have a lot of thoughts about government, who want to change our neighborhood, who want to see community centers built, who feel like maybe their elected officials really aren't representing them. And this gives you the strongest, the biggest outlet to do so with our own Democratic Club.
It was around this time last year that we were in conversation when you were also seeking another office, actually, or another form of government. Now, like that, and we were also celebrating your, the announcing of you being on the ballot and whatnot too, and everyone, they were all just so elated that finally change is on the way. And then came election night. Now, where do you think we went wrong in the last election for city council? When Councilmember Adams was elected.
So that's right. Last year, I ran for public office for the first time ever,
right,
and wow, that was an incredible experience.
Right.
I learned a lot, and I came in second.
Right.
We lost by a very, very small percent.
Okay.
In fact, we got more people to vote in that election. And, I'm Guyanese, I'm South Asian, I'm Indo-Caribbean, I'm all of these labels. I got more vote than any other candidate in the history of New York City that happens to be Guyanese, South Asian, Indo-Caribbean for city council. Now, that wasn't good enough because we didn't ultimately win. And where did we go wrong? This is key. A lot of folks are registered to vote, but they're not registered with the Democratic Party. In most cases, you can't vote at all. If you're registered as an independent, you can't vote. So I went to the polls on election day and I saw aunties, uncles, grandparents, some of them in tears, being turned away because they weren't registered correctly.
Right.
2 weeks before the election, the party changed many of the poll sites. Now, if you're a senior citizen or if you're rushing to go to work and you just wanted to go and vote where you've always voted or for a long time, and they change your poll site, you're frustrated, you don't have time to go to the other poll site, so you went to work and you just kind of hoped that we would win that day.
Mm-hmm.
It was a combination of things. And of course, we have a lot of folks who are just not registered, or who saw, on social media or other places that everyone else they thought was going to vote, so they didn't have to.
Right.
We lost by such a small margin that if everyone had voted who said they would or was registered, we could have really made a big difference. So this is an opportunity. It's a stepping stone to doing something else, because the next election for any office isn't anytime soon. And I said that I wasn't going to disappear. I said I wasn't going to give up. And I want to make sure that this community has a voice. It's essential. In fact, we have no other person in government in an elected position. And so what else do we have? We have to continue fighting for something.
So, first of all, the underlying actually statement there was like there was many people who were not registered to vote. So we are encouraging people. We're making an appeal today for many people to please do register. Find out how you can register to go out and vote. I think you'll give more information about that. And my second question is that so with that election, and you just before we started this discussion, you broke some good news to me about in terms of this seat. But for anyone to vote for you, do they have to be registered as a Democrat? Can an independent vote in this race?
In New York State, you can only vote with your party.
Okay.
You cannot cross party lines. And in New York City, I encourage people to be a Democrat.
Right.
Because we have so many candidates who run as Democrats, at least you get a choice. Here's the second thing. The person who actually wins the general election is often the candidate who's won the primary. So if you can't vote in the primary, it's as though your vote doesn't count.
Okay.
So, look, the system is complicated. It's not the most democratic, but it is how the rules are set up. So we got to learn to play this game, and we got to learn to win. So to vote, I encourage people to register as Democrats. I encourage people to then go out and vote, and then at least you can pick the best candidate you want. Now, so in this process, I'm excited because we collected enough signatures. Dozens of people went door to door, supermarkets, all over the place. We got enough signatures to get on the ballot.
Right.
And then we found out we're the only ones that made it on the ballot. So we don't have an opponent. So there really isn't an election. It's largely a formality. On September 13th, my name won't actually be on the ballot because I don't have a challenger.
Okay.
On September 14th, I would be the district leader.
So is it safe to say Mr. District Leader then? I mean, I could actually officially address you as a district leader or the soon-to-be elected district leader then?
I think it's district leader elect.
District leader
until
elect,
after
yes. Until
it's official.
All right, so Mr. District Leader elect, actually that sounds good. And then after the official date, I'll look forward to calling you Mr. District Leader. We are looking forward we're looking forward to seeing the changes and the things that you've been talking about throughout this political process, whether it was actually running for city council or this here. You've been always talking about representing the people of Indo-Caribbean as well as the South Asian community and so many other communities that have been forgotten about. Some of the ideas and some of the thoughts that you expressed last year in your candidacy, what are some of the things that you would say has crossed over into this year? And also, would you be able to, under your jurisdiction, see that those things will become, possible?
So I was talking about we've done a lot of really cool things. We got people excited and involved. I want to make sure people continue to be excited and involved because the reality is I'm only as strong and any elected official is only as strong as the people backing them.
Right.
So we got to be strong and we got to be confident about the people we're putting out there. Last year when I ran for the city council, I was talking about creating community centers because we didn't have any, funding senior centers because we don't have spaces for our seniors to go to that are respectful, dignified places for them to kind of hang out during the day. I talked about how this neighborhood that I had been a part of was largely neglected because we were facing foreclosures. We had an immigration crisis with the onset of Trump. We had so many issues, and there were things that were actually in the control of the city council. In this position, I'm an advocate. I will work with the elected officials to see that there is a voice and representation towards these issues. But my job is to work with the Democratic Party to see that we get the best elected officials. we have to work very often with the elected officials who are in office. And through a democratic club, what we can do is create forums for elected officials to address people. And so if there are enough concerns about speeding cars or needing speed bumps, or it's summertime, I'm hearing both things. I'm hearing too many loud parties, and I'm also hearing cracking down on backyard parties and,
right.
and things like that. So what I would be able to do is create a forum for people to get answers, get representation from their elected officials if they feel like they've tried and they're not getting through. It also, and this is actually really cool, it includes immigration assistance. So the congressman who's in this area, Gregory Meeks, if he's able to help with a particular immigration issue, we would be able to figure out a way for his office to help as well. So we can leverage all the elected officials in the district to work with residents, not just one.
A few ideas that I want to actually put forward, or a few things I want to talk to you about, is basically, let's just say it's just me as a resident approaching the district leader, and your thoughts on it. Now, speed bumps. I mean, there are some people who say it's good to control speeding and also fatalities. Other people say, well, it's way too much. Sometimes it's in areas where there's not signs posted. Sometimes it causes damages to people's vehicle if they're not able to stop in time. Your view on speed bumps: more speed bumps, or should we get rid of speed bumps in the district?
So the process right now is, if you believe that there is excessive speeding in your block, speed bumps are not the only traffic calming devices.
Right.
I've actually sat on Community Board 9 for 10 years now. It's going to be 11 years. So I have some experience with this. There are various mechanisms to calm traffic. One of them is a speed bump. There are others. You can do reflective guards. You can do a painting on the road. You can improve the actual stop sign, and then there's a stop light. So it depends on what measure is appropriate. So what should be done, and I support this, is if enough residents agree that they believe there's a problem here and they've signed a petition, it goes to the community board, and then it's forwarded to the Department of Transportation, and they'll do a study. And they'll actually send someone out there. They'll look at the traffic patterns. They'll see how many cars go every day. They'll see at what speeds they're going. And they'll see, well, actually, maybe we just need to prune a tree because people can't see the stop sign. The first response isn't always to put a speed bump, but sometimes it's the appropriate response. But it's only one response. There are other options. So you got to look at what the options are.
Do you think that more speed cameras needs to be implemented, or can we do away with some?
So here's the issue. The speed cameras are actually put up to improve safety and
Right.
reduce deaths.
Right.
And it's done that. We've actually seen less people die on the roads. That's now a fact. It's statistically proven that less people are dying because there are more cameras on there.
That I agree with.
Now, here's the other part that's actually very frustrating to me. When cameras are installed simply for the purposes of generating revenue for the city of New York,
Right.
that I've been hit with those tickets. I felt that they're unfair. And that's where I think it's a legitimate concern. Where do you strike the right balance between public safety and simply tax generation?
Right.
I think we have to determine, and these are residents of New York and neighborhoods, when we think that it's excessive. And we have to be vocal about when we think it's excessive. And if it's simply a tool to raise more revenues in a neighborhood like ours that's heavily taxed right now, then we're going to have a problem. And when folks come out and voice this to elected officials, guess what? They're going to actually, hear from people. Right now, they're not. There is no organized way for them to hear from people. They've heard one-off comments, one-off here, but then they see the statistics will actually be saved, X amount of people last year. Literally, this number of people would have died in every other year, so we're literally saving lives. But if there is a trade-off with tax revenue, then that's something that I think they would be responsive to.
Talking about safety, now you spoke about parties, sometimes backyard parties, sometimes fights at clubs. I mean, I think that the backyard party, sometimes I don't know if we can make that an issue. But when we talk about safety, I've heard from several parents that in terms of their kids going to school, actually there is good safety measures with the crossing guards. I mean, the crossing guards are ensuring that the kids are getting safely into the schools. However, once they're in the schools, that's where the safety, that's where it's a question. Sometimes people feel as if fights are occurring, too many fights are occurring against security guards, or not enough people are responsive to it. Some people feel that that some of the security guards need to be retrained. Has that been a concern? I mean, that's a concern that I've heard. If you're, what is something that you would suggest in terms of that, and in terms of school safety? What are some complaints or what are some ideas that you have as a district leader? The district leader elect.
That's so nationally. Everyone's talking about gun safety in schools.
Right.
Right. And how do we get to a place where we feel like we're not taking away people's gun rights, but having a level of safety? Fortunately, New York City hasn't had that kind of issue. The issues that we have in New York City are as legitimate as well. Bullying.
Right.
A lot of pressure from peers and other things that were true for generations. But the school environment has changed. There are metal detectors at most schools. And now with social media, a lot of bullying occurs in non personal ways. It's online. And the bullying is actually usually targeted at people that look like you and me. People who eat curry or are South Asian or Hindu. And so when we talk about this issue, we really have to be conscious about who are the victims here, right? And they fit a demographic profile. And when we think about the response, we also got to be sensitive as well, because remember, these are still kids, right? They're coming to school with the public school education, and there have been problems among teenagers forever,
right?
But it has reached a level where we have to do more. And I think engaging public school safety agents, making sure that they're adequately trained, removing implicit bias, which is a lot of the training that police officers go through, that should be there as well. But when we talk about education, when we talk about the schools, I want to see that our schools are actually serving halal and vegetarian options, right? I want to see that our English literature and language classes and history classes actually are the history of the people who are in that class. I remember I was talking to a parent last year, and she said to me that 50% of the kids at her school are Indo-Caribbean, Guyanese, or Trinidadian. And yet they're celebrating Italian Heritage Month and all these other things, which are very important. But when do we make that transition to have this history and this culture being shared and taught among the people who live it and our neighbors? We need to figure that out and then leverage that to fight for public holidays within the school system. Well, both Eid holidays were recently included, as well as the Lunar New Year for the Chinese community. But the same didn't happen for the Hindu community, and that's the remaining large group that's been consistently, now this is key, consistently excluded.
Well, that was actually going to bring me to my next topic. I remember back in 2015, there was a group that was led by Dr. Muhammad Haq from the Queensborough president, as well as State Senator Leroy Comrie. We were actually looking to see that, and I remember in 2014, and for a number of years, Hindus were working towards getting the Diwali stamp. I think in 2014, it became official under Congressmember Maloney, actually, and I believe that's one of the major reasons why she rallied the South Asian support against Suraj Patel. But when we talk about Diwali being a public holiday for Hindus, now one of the major complaints, whether it came out of the borough president's office or even State Senator Leroy Comrie, was that people were not really coming together to rally support behind it. They wanted, but yet at certain times, whereas the support was there, rallied for Eid, Ul-Fitr, and also the second Eid as well, that support was lacking. So how do we bring the community together? How do we get everyone there so that we can finally convince people that it should be a public holiday, just as Eid has been?
The best way to do it, there are many ways.
Right.
First, you need one or two people who are committed to doing this. You don't need a whole bunch, just one or two. And then you need a strategy that will include collecting data, collecting information that can be translated and put out there to demonstrate the impact that this will have on all New Yorkers, not just Hindu students. And then I think you have a campaign that people can rally behind. It's absent, that information right now. It's not been collected, and it may not even be entirely available to collect. But those are the steps that are needed in the first place. A lot of the reaction, a lot of the mobilization that I've seen is more like, well, they got it, why shouldn't we? But that's the start of the conversation. To move it forward, you do need some data, you do need some leaders to get behind it, but I think a small group putting data and compelling narratives together that demonstrate the impact across the 5 boroughs, and then having people buy into that data is actually the way to go.
Okay. Well, when we talk about the community and also community safety, how do we control shootings actually at nightclubs and also all these fights as well, these violent fights that just escalate further? Sometimes it leads to death.
Well, the good news is we are at a historic low with the number of gun violence and crimes that are occurring citywide. And it's in fact the lowest that it's been since the 80s. And the population has grown so much. So we really are at a historic moment. We've had issues around sexual harassment at nightclubs. We've had issues with alcoholism at nightclubs. And of course, violence that take the form of guns or just fists. There isn't one answer to that. What we have to do though, and the full burden of it isn't entirely on the owners of these establishments. A large burden of it is on them. They must have proper security. They must play music and create an environment that's safe. Safety is the #1 concern. No one wants to send their child, and no one wants to go to an environment or a setting where they may not make it out of, or they may be sexually assaulted in the process. I haven't met a single person that's gone there with that desire, man or woman. But the entire burden isn't on the police department. It's not on the owners. Sometimes it's on us and policing our friends and policing the people that we're bringing. I'm disappointed sometimes when I go to these places. Fortunately, there are fewer and fewer of them. I'm excited that I'm seeing really responsible business open in our neighborhood. I'm excited that we see really responsible club promoters out there. Not all of them are responsible. I'm excited to see that we're creating safe environments. And actually, when we talk about this topic, we have to see ourselves as a community that offers a really vibrant nighttime experience. A lot of folks don't have this in their neighborhood. I'm excited that we do have it. We need to make sure that it's safe. I don't have to go to the meatpacking district. I don't have to go to Williamsburg. And believe me, incidents happen there as well, equally violent or even worse. We have to make sure that what we have here is preserved, protected, is safe, and is something that we can be proud of. And I'm really proud of a lot of the businesses we have.
Well, once you officially become the district leader, what are some workshops or what are some of the things you would like to do with some of the young and upcoming entrepreneurs to see that their businesses will be, implemented?
This is something I've actually been thinking about, not just in this campaign, but for a long time.
Right.
Our community has amazing roti shops and all kinds of places that serve food and beverage and clothing and imports of things from the Caribbean that are loved, right? We can't go Sunday morning without doubles. But they're also ran by people who are our parents' generation. And so the question becomes, what happens to the next generation? And what we're seeing is a lot of young people taking the reins, starting their own businesses, doing different things, organic juices and workout places and dance studios. That's fantastic. Now, how do we create connections between that and government and resources that are available? The first thing is for contracting, we need to see that more people have formalized their businesses, and then they can qualify for certain grants that are out there as recent immigrants or as entrepreneurs. Then there are also contracting opportunities. Once companies become women or minority owned and certified by the city and the state, there are contracting opportunities that they can qualify for. Now, it is a bureaucratic process, but we got to learn the game and play it, because a lot of people have learned this game and are playing it, and guess what? They're incredibly successful. So I want to make sure that we're creating a pipeline, and we've done this on the community board, where we're offering classes and training and opportunities for people to learn about this process, so it's not in a back room and those who know and those who don't know are left out permanently. So I want to do more of that as district leader after this process is formalized. But it's something that I've been working on. It's something that we're seeing, and it's something that we can only increase from where we are.
Definitely. Well, you know what? I have to say that so far I've enjoyed our conversation, and however, I've been given a sign that our time is almost up. But in just a nutshell, actually, because you are the district leader elect, and I believe that some of the choices in terms of candidates running for office, it affects your decisions as a leader and also as a political individual as well. So I'm going to just divert for a quick second, actually focusing on another race. I'd just like to hear your take on it, and then finally, if there's anything else you want to make an appeal to the public, I'll give you that opportunity to do so. But right now, as well as some of the other seats or some of the other local elections that are taking place, we all know that statewide, it's actually the election for the governor, and there is a great debate between Cynthia Nixon or Governor Cuomo. For you personally, who do you think is the ideal or the likely candidate to become the nominee, the GOP nominee for the Democratic candidate for governor, and also win the election this year? And of course, if there's anyone who would like to get in contact with you with their concerns and also their suggestions as well, any complaints, how can they go about doing so?
So we have state elections this year. We have the governor's race,
right.
And I'm enjoying the debate that's happening between Cynthia Nixon and Governor Cuomo because what I'm seeing is that this governor is increasingly embracing things that she's championing.
Right.
And so I want to see him embrace non-citizenship, anyone, once they're qualified to be able to drive. You don't have to be a U.S. citizen to drive. I want to see that he embraces certain types of marijuana, weed, reform, legalization, and a better process than just criminalization, which is largely what's happened in the past. I also want to see that this governor embraces voting reform. We're going to be dealing with redistricting very soon. That's where they draw the actual political boundaries of each elected official.
Well, once again, Mr. District Leader-elect, let me say congratulations, and also to all your supporters, your family. I know that they are all extremely elated. And of course, job well done. We're looking forward to seeing the progress and the changes and everything that you will actually, bring to the district. Wishing you all the very best, and looking forward to talking about some more of the issues that once officially given the role as Mr. District Leader, some of the things that you're looking forward for, the vision for the district moving forward. It was indeed truly a pleasure having you.
I think we'll have a lot of fun. Thank
Definitely.
you.
Thank you. All the very best. And to all our viewers and all our supporters, remember, you can feel free to weigh in on your thoughts and also your suggestions on today's discussion. My time with you is officially over. I've enjoyed being in your company, and I do hope you've enjoyed ours as well. Special thank you to Mr. Ravi Kumar. Until next week, have a blessed and a wonderful week. We are signing off.